Well, hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for participating in your electric cooperative. Before we get started, I'd like to make a few introductions, starting with your board of directors. We've got Kathy Brake, Roger Rank, Gary Knapke, Randy Heinel, Larry VANDEMARK, attorney Courtney Burton, Jim Wiekert, Bob Barnt, and Steve Bauer. And yes. And some employees in here. I'm not sure if they're all in here yet or not, but typically Paul Rogers, our manager of engineering and operations, Kevin Schmidt, manager of finance and member service, Julie Marshall, manager of administrative services, and I think that may be all the employees in here at this time. And our special guest today is Tom Albin. He's vice president of power generation for Buckeye Power, our power supplier. And I am Matt Berry, your CEO. Well, welcome. And now your board president, Larry VANDEMARK.
Good morning, everyone. I call this to order this 85th annual meeting of Midwest Electric. The Credential Committee reports that over 100 members are present or by ballot. Therefore, we do have a quorum for this annual meeting here. At this time, I'm going to invite Jim Wiekert to come forth to give the invocation.
Please bow your heads for a moment of prayer. Gracious and everlasting Father, we exalt you this day for giving us each another day. Thank you on this day, as we often take many of your blessings for granted. Help us to reflect your love and shine your brightness to our neighbors and to all in our community. We remember that whatever we do to the least of our brothers, that we do unto you. Lord, today we celebrate our cooperative and conduct the business of our cooperative via this 85th meeting of our members. Thank you, Lord, for this enterprise and the great good it has done and continues to do for us, our fellow members in our communities. Thank you for the fellowship and meal we shared, and we lift you up today as all that is good, loving, and just, and our foundation. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, would you please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay. Thank you. In your packet that you came in, you should have received a copy of the 2021 minutes from our annual meeting then. Is there any, it doesn't require a motion to accept them, but is there any additions or corrections to them? Seeing none, would I entertain a motion to adopt those minutes? All right, is there a second? That's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. I'd also like to take this time to recognize all the veterans and first responders. Well, they all stand to be recognized. All our veterans and first responders. Okay. Thank you so much for your service to give us freedom and also to give us our protection. We appreciate all the work you've done and your service that you've provided. Okay. At this time, I guess I'm going to start off with there's a man that came in the kitchen here and started scrambling some eggs when his wife walks into the kitchen and says, "Careful," she cries, "careful. You're cooking too many at once. Too many. Scramble them. Now? We need more butter. They're going to stick. Careful. Now scramble them again. Hurry up. Are you crazy? Don't forget to salt them. You know you always forget to salt them. Use the salt. Finally, the man turns to his wife and asks, "What's wrong with you?" And the wife calmly replies, "I want to show you what it feels like when I'm driving and you're in the passenger seat." That probably works both ways too. But I'll just on that. So anyways, again, I want to say good morning to everyone and thank you for joining us this morning. We are very happy to see members engaged and involved in their electric cooperative. And good morning to those who are unable to be here in person, but are watching us live online. In 2021, we continue a slight growth in kilowatt hour sales, and in fact was our record highest sales year. Much of this growth is coming from small commercial members. Commercial sales growth is good for all members, and it helps diversify our load and spreads our fixed costs. And it's good for the local economic development community. Thanks to healthy sales, plus keeping expenses in checks, we have now gone 12 years since the last rate increase. Our current plans, yes. You don't see that happen too often, but they're doing a good job on that. So our current plans call for a small rate increase in 2023. Stay tuned to our magazine and our other communications. Although the plans are very early, an increase would likely come in late of 2023. Our electric rates are competitive and stable. Being a rural utility, it simply costs electric cooperative more to provide electricity than the city-owned and large utilities. Still, our electric rates are among the lowest for Ohio's 24 cooperatives. Something that helps our rates is your participation in the peak management load programs. By allowing us to temporarily control your water heater and air conditioner during the extreme peak high use periods, you help the cooperative save more than $600,000 a year in our wholesale power bill from Buckeye Power. Excuse me. We are financially sound with an equity level of 49%, which is standard for our industry. Having an equity level at our range helps us minimize our cost of capital while still having flexibility to invest in our electric system. And our focus on power reliability is as strong as ever. We invest at least $2 to $3 million each year in our local electric system to keep your lights on. And our highlights for 2021 include total revenue rose slightly with an increased kilowatt hour sales of 32.5 million. Total assets stand at 71 million, mostly in our electric distribution system. Last year, we paid back our members more than $2.3 million in patronage cashback. Since 1955, Midwest Electric has returned more than $38 million in patronage cashback to its members. We now have 1,533 miles of distribution lines. Right-of-way clearing is performed annually to help reduce tree-related outages. Tree trimming took place along 93 miles of the lines in the Lake substation area. We tested and treated 497 poles in the cold water metering point area with less than 1.3% rejection ratio. Those poles that have been rejected will be replaced with new ones. We tested and treated 1,452 poles in the Sharpsburg substation area with less than 1% rejection ratio. Those poles rejected will be replaced with new poles. We tested and treated 1,678 poles in Spencerville metering point with less than 1% rejection ratio. Those poles rejected will be replaced also with new ones. As a result, we had one of our best years in terms of power reliability. The average member had a power availability 99.98% of the time last year. For the past 5 years, we've been in shared services arrangements with Paulding Putman Electric Cooperative, where we shared a couple of employees. This has provided good service to the members and substantial savings, and we are continuing to share those services with Paulding. Thank you to those of you who are involved in our grassroots legislative effort and Co-op Owners for Political Action, also known as COPA. When we speak with one unified voice, we stand a much better chance to fight our challenges and affecting legislating decisions that impact our cooperative and its members. And we are facing serious threats to the cost and availability of electricity. We must keep a strong force in Washington to make sure that Midwest can continue offer our members reliable and reasonable electricity. We have a booth called the Members Promotions in the cafeteria today, where you can sign up for the COPA Owners Political Action for $25 per year. And we'll even give you efficient LED light bulbs as an incentive to sign up. So please, if you have not, please take time and look it over and please sign up. Again, thank you. And I want to especially thank our employees for the service, outstanding job and the service they provide to us. Our employees demonstrate innovation, commitment, teamwork, and dedication, and they know that you are the boss. As chairman, on behalf of all of our board of directors, I want to conclude that we are proud to serve you as electric co-op, your electric co-op. We continue to work hard on your behalf to make sure that you have reliable and reasonable electricity to your homes and businesses. At this time, please join me in welcoming our next speaker up here, Tom Alden, Vice President of Generation in Buckeye Power. Tom?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Larry. In 2021, Ohio's electric cooperatives celebrated our 80th anniversary. This year represents a landmark, 80 years of unification of Ohio's 24 electric distribution cooperatives working together with each other and with your power supplier, Buckeye Power, and our state trade association. By working together over the last 80 years, we have been able to accomplish more things together than any individual cooperative could on its own. Together, we have reduced costs, become more resilient, and fostered innovations. Unifying our power supply needs in 1965 under Buckeye Power has allowed Ohio's electric cooperatives to own and operate our own power generation resources. Buckeye Power first invested in coal generation to take advantage of this local resource and its cost advantages. Buckeye Power continues to operate these plants after investing $1 billion in environmental controls, making our fleet among the cleanest power plants in the world. As natural gas has become more abundant and renewable resources more available, we have grown and diversified our portfolio. To meet your needs during the hottest and coldest days of the year, we have developed both demand reduction strategies and peak generation facilities. We continue to add renewable energy resources in small increments as opportunities are available and where the project scale fits our needs. These decisions have been made by a board of trustees that is one representative from each of the 24 Ohio electric cooperatives. Their collective decision-making, working in unison with an experienced management team, has allowed Buckeye Power to provide competitive and stable wholesale power costs to the nearly 1 million Ohioans that depend on their electric cooperative for service. When the Ohio electricity market was restructured beginning in 2001, Ohio's electric cooperatives decided to retain the stability of cost-based generation rates instead of transitioning to market rates like the investor-owned utilities in the state. Recent news stories remind us of the value of these decisions. You may have seen that on June 1st, the market-based rates paid by many IOU customers increased significantly. A consumer using 1,000 kilowatt hours per month will see increases in their monthly bill in the range of $11 to $60. There is certainly upward pressure on our rates as well, but increases will more closely match inflation. There have also been recent news stories warning of increased risk of energy shortfalls this summer in some regions of the country, especially in MISO, the market directly to our west. The increasing fragility of the electric grid has also been exposed in recent years by blackout events in Texas and California. A contributing factor to these reliability concerns has been poor planning and policies that disproportionately incentivized the proliferation of intermittent generation resources. Buckeye Power is committed to providing a mix of generation resources that balance affordability, reliability, and environmental responsibility. Included in that mix is coal, natural gas, solar, hydropower, biomass, and other small-scale renewable energy generation. We cannot commit to a carbon reduction goal until there is a technological path that allows us to understand when and at what cost these goals would be achievable. And Buckeye Power will advocate for policies that support the need for baseload generation that is clean and reliable as well as technically feasible. Ohio and the Midwest region should not compromise on power reliability. While certain areas in the United States are more vulnerable in 2022, our regional transmission organization has maintained both capacity and energy markets that will ensure an adequate supply of energy in Ohio and our immediate region of the country this summer. As the electric utility industry and member expectations evolve, Ohio's electric cooperatives consider many factors and weigh many viewpoints with the goal of preserving an affordable and reliable and environmentally responsible supply of power for our members. Our team in Columbus works with your management team and other professionals to ensure you are informed about the future of your cooperative and your power supply. You may have noticed in our monthly magazine, Ohio Cooperative Living, that we have doubled down on education and information. Over the past year, not only did your cooperative deliver local news, but we also discussed many important industry issues. We discussed the future of electric vehicles, why we still need coal, the impact of rising transmission costs and grid reliability, safety through distracted driving education, and many stories on how your local cooperative supports your community. In a world where you have many sources of information, there is no better source of power and information than your local nonprofit electric cooperative. We'll help keep you informed with Ohio Cooperative Living and the many social media channels your cooperative has provided. Working together on power supply and providing industry news and updates are just the beginning of how the Ohio Electric Cooperative program shines. Every Ohio cooperative has an ownership interest in the Central Ohio Line Worker Training Program, or COLT. There, we are training the next generation of linemen to work safely and efficiently to keep the lights on. This unified training pays off every day at home and especially during severe storms, allowing us to pull together 40 to 60 linemen from cooperatives across the state to provide assistance to the cooperatives hardest hit by extreme weather events. In the past year, Ohio cooperatives have assisted not only their fellow Ohio cooperatives, but also a Virginia co-op hit hard by snow and ice this winter. Line workers from more than a dozen cooperatives were able to work together safely and effectively in the most challenging of conditions. Ohio's electric cooperatives remain unified in many other areas, such as economic development, director and workforce development, legislative and government relations, and helping where we can to provide more equitable access to high-speed internet in rural areas. We will always be stronger working together in these areas. Nothing keeps us more unified than our local nonprofit business model and 4 core values of integrity, accountability, innovation, and commitment to community. All 24 of Ohio's electric cooperatives committed to these values make us a powerful voice in your community and throughout the state. Thank you for your attention and for attending your annual meeting.
Thank you, Tom, for the power supply update. I'm sure our members will have some questions about state and federal energy policy when we get to the Q&A session. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you again for being an active participant in your electric cooperative. YouTube channel Real Engineering calls the electric grid the biggest machine in the world. The U.S. National Academy of Engineering named the electric grid the greatest engineering achievement of the 20th century. Electricity affects everything: quality of life, economic development, health and wealth, education, productivity, comfort, and so much more. And electric service is instantaneous. Any electricity we're using right now is being generated right now. It travels 186,000 miles per second to get from the generating plant to the point of use. As a result, the electric system has to be built large enough to meet the biggest demand at any one time. Supply must be kept in constant balance with demand. To maintain that balancing act, power providers must be responsive, forecasting the next day's energy use and carefully managing energy generation every minute. If demand exceeds supply, that would lead to damaging dips in voltage, brownouts, and blackouts. As one example of how bad energy policy can have serious consequences, consider California. California relies more on wind and solar than any other state. During summer 2020, the solar panels and wind turbines that make up about 30% of California's energy mix stopped working. Power was shut off to millions of people in a heat wave. And by the way, California, with the most wind and solar, has the highest electricity rates in the nation. And there's Texas, which has moved considerably to wind power in recent years, providing 20% of that state's power. And coal power in Texas has been declining down to now about 17% of power generation in Texas. Well, a winter freeze hit Texas in February 2021. Unfortunately, more than 240 people died due to blackouts. Many factors contributed to the Texas blackouts, but industry experts say the significant amount of an unreliable intermittent energy source, wind, was a leading cause of the blackouts. At the very least, the situation shows the seriousness of state and federal energy policy, and that we should all pause as a nation before we go too far off what may be a cliff. With coal, we can ride out the storms. But if you rely on natural gas to generate electricity, the natural gas infrastructure is not in place to simultaneously provide for residential spikes in natural gas use and utility spikes for generation at the same time. Ohio had 21 coal power plants in 2008. Today, only 6 remain, and 2 of those are going to close. Despite what you hear in the media and from some politicians and environmentalists, electric power generation in America is not a major cause of global carbon dioxide emissions. It's not even close. Yet the affordability and reliability of electricity is under serious attack in the United States under the guise of reducing CO2 emissions. The chart here, I'll leave it up for a while so you can take a look at it. It's from David Gaddy of the University of Georgia. According to Gaddy, coal accounts for 40% of world CO2 emissions. And of that, you can see here, China is responsible for by far the most coal-based CO2 emissions. And their share is growing rapidly. They continue to build coal power plants while we shut them down. Coal power in the United States accounts for 2.6% of global CO2 emissions. Completely eliminate that 2.6%, completely eliminate all coal power plants in the United States, and you'd see practically no global CO2 environmental benefit. What you will see, however, higher electricity prices and more blackouts as we trade a stable source of electricity for intermittent and less reliable forms of power generation. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, United States CO2 emissions from fossil fuel use have decreased 14% in recent years. Carbon dioxide emissions from power generation in the U.S. have decreased 33%. Meanwhile, though, worldwide CO2 emissions have increased 25% over this time frame. The entire European Union now emits less carbon than India and about 1/3 as much as China. In fact, if every American and European stopped emitting carbon entirely and went back to living in caves, the world as a whole would still produce more carbon dioxide than it did 20 years ago. This is according to industry author Robert Bryce. CO2 emissions are on a downward trend in America, but increasing globally despite whatever we do. The persistence of coal in India, China, and other countries shows that people will do whatever they have to get the electricity they need, and they have every right to do so for their citizens. Nothing lifts people out of poverty like affordable and available energy, and conversely, nothing puts people into poverty like unaffordable and unreliable energy. Even Japan, the site of the first international treaty to reduce emissions, the Kyoto Protocol. Japan continues to rely heavily on coal and keeps building more coal power plants, thus abandoning its Kyoto Protocol pledges. And then there's the matter of land use in the United States, and this in itself is an entire subject. But the amount of land, this is under the category of power density, how much is produced per square foot or acre, however you want to measure it. The amount of land that wind and solar farms require is astronomical compared to how little power they produce. Coal and nuclear are exponentially more efficient than renewables when it comes to land use. Coal has persisted throughout the world because it can be used to produce the vast quantities of electricity the world needs at prices consumers can afford. Even as the pressures mount from environmental activists and governments, the need for abundant, reliable electricity will continue to be a priority for people all over the world. And as Larry mentioned earlier, we ask for your help in this fight. Please consider joining Co-op Owners for Political Action. More than 30,000 electric cooperative members, employees, and directors nationwide are part of this political action group. We support candidates who help us in these battles. And as you mentioned, there's a booth outside, or call our office. Well, I'd like to switch topics completely here and talk about a milestone we just hit. We just earned a 92 on the American Customer Satisfaction Index. Now this puts us in the top 10% of America's 900 electric cooperatives. And this is quite an achievement as it reflects on the people that we have at our cooperative. It shows that our employees and board understand who the boss is, and that's you. Our commitment to community also helps with this high score. Thanks to the members who voluntarily round up their electric bill to the next highest dollar, our Community Connection Fund donates about $50,000 a year to area charitable causes. And there's our Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund that's provided about $3 million in low interest loans to area business, helping with local job creation and economic development. Our patronage cash back also helps us earn the high customer satisfaction marks. The profit that we make at the end of each year is assigned and allocated back to each of you based on the amount of electricity you bought from the cooperative. And over the years, we've paid back $38 million to our members, making us among the more aggressive of America's electric cooperatives. On the technology side, helping with customer convenience, nearly 70% of our members use some form of technology to pay their bill now. That could be automatic payment through your checking, savings, or credit card account, or it could be on our e-bill site called Smart Hub, where you can also view your hourly, daily, and monthly electric use, thanks to our digital electric meters. And on the personal touch side, we have actual human beings who answer the phone when you call, and that is very much appreciated by customers. Our value-added programs and services also help drive our high customer satisfaction score. This is our rebates for water heaters, insulation, heat pumps, refrigerators, and more, and also including energy audits, helping you with your energy use. And of course, our power reliability. The average Midwest Electric member had power available 99.98% of the time in 2021. And we're using the latest technology in electric distribution with our automatic recloser system that helps us restore power in minutes where it used to take hours. We're expanding this automatic recloser system throughout our area over the next couple of years. And we also continue to work with the transmission providers, AEP, DP&L, or AES. They provide the transmission to our substation, and we've been encouraging them to continue the investments in transmission for the sake of reliability and capacity. And all of this for a very affordable and competitive price. Our last distribution rate change, as Laurie mentioned, was August 2010. That's 12 years ago. Over that 12-year period, we've invested $28 million in power reliability and returned $17 million in patronage cash back, all without raising rates. But without safety, the high customer satisfaction score means nothing. We work in a dangerous industry. Your employees and board are deeply committed to public safety. And we are very grateful for our statewide organization, as Ohio's electric cooperatives have a leading reputation for safe work practices. So finally, I want to finish today, not totally unrelated to member satisfaction, just a request or a notice. If you are considering adding solar or wind to your home or business, I want to strongly advise you to contact us first before you sign anything. Ohio's electric cooperatives have unfortunately seen many members across the state being duped by unscrupulous solar dealers. We've heard reports of the elderly being scammed by solar dealers. We've heard of low-income people who really cannot afford it being tied to 20-year loans that will never pay back. We've heard of roofs being damaged, people cashing in their retirement to put up solar panels. And there's one solar dealer we know of in the area that has more than 800 complaints on file in the Better Business Bureau, with attorney generals and state legislators looking into them as well. So, yeah, just want to caution you, just contact us. We'll help you. We're not for profit. We're member owned. We'll give you all the advice that you're going to need to make that decision. Well, thank you again for being involved in your electric cooperative. And at this time, we got our microphone people here. So mic number 7 and 5. So at this time, we'd like to open the floor to questions. And after asking your question, if you could please hand the microphone back to the employee so that other members can participate. And we'll do the best to answer the question as best as you can. We've got Tom Albin here to help also from the Buckeye perspective. You know, we do have one right in the middle. This is a great facility, but the downside is there's no center aisle here, so to get the microphone, yeah, that's you can throw it maybe, but you want to.
Is it on?
Yep, you good?
You mentioned about the Texas situation, that they were having some problems there with their electric supply. Isn't it true that Texas is a separate entity? They're not connected to the overall U.S. grid?
That's correct, yeah.
And if they were connected, they might not have had those problems. Is that true?
That could have helped. Yep, that is true. Yeah, there were a lot of factors. In fact, every form of power generation was affected by that, and what you mentioned there too, the sort of if you want to call it like an island type situation that Texas has, that contributed as well.
Have they been talking about possibly connecting to the overall grid?
I don't know, Tom, if that's got another. Okay.
Yes, I'm curious as to how much pressure you're getting from the Biden administration with coal generation and, quote, the Green Deal and fossil and everything else. And I got a second question is how old is the Cardinal plant, and will we ever have to build something new, and will this administration or some future administration not allow any new plants being built?
Well, sound like yours, Tom.
I was just going to say, Matt, you want? So, All right, so yeah, the Biden administration is putting a lot of pressure on fossil generation. They've established goals, they've discussed goals to decarbonize our electric grid, and there are certain dates floating around out there, but they're using the EPA to come after us in every way possible. And so we're going to use the rule of law to sort of work our way through those things, and we'll comply with all regulations that are properly, promulgated and implemented. But the pressure, we don't envision the pressure stopping from this administration. And we're just going to keep working through it, and again, following the process and being compliant with the rules that are ultimately implemented. So in terms of now switching to your other question, Cardinal plant, the first 2 units. If you remember the picture that Matt put up, there were a couple units deeper into the picture. Those are the first 2 units. They were built and came online in 1967. The 3rd unit at Cardinal came online in 1977. And so none of them are new, but they've been maintained over the years that we're going to be able to continue to operate them for what we would say the foreseeable future, until it becomes in the best interest of our members to switch to something else. And when that time comes, it's hard to know we don't think there's going to be any way we'll ever get another coal plant permitted to be built. And the real question is, they talk about, the Sierra Club had a campaign some years ago called Beyond Coal. Now they've sort of moved past that because they're moving, they're having success and coal units are being retired. Now they're talking about Beyond Gas. And so, our view is a natural gas combined cycle plant would be the most likely replacement for the Cardinal capacity. But it's hard to know if there's an affront on gas after coal, how would we make the investment in that type of facility? We don't foresee the need for it for quite some years, so we're just going to watch and see how things play out.
Will there ever be a chance to go to nuclear again?
I would hope so. That seems to be, if you want dispatchable generation that doesn't have significant carbon emissions, then nuclear is the only answer. So there are ongoing studies to try to build these small modular nuclear reactors. The government is helping to fund some of these things, but these have been in place or been in the works for a long time, and they're probably 15 to 20 years away. But there's gaining, I guess we're gaining some momentum in that, and recognition that there needs to be nuclear development. There is an ongoing construction of a plant or expansion of a nuclear plant down in Georgia, and the price tag is pretty steep. It was initially estimated to be like a $7 billion project to add 2 nuclear units to a facility that already had 2 units. So $7 billion was the original estimate, and the most recent projection I heard is $30 billion, because it's just that expensive. And so nuclear is a solution maybe without carbon dioxide, but there's cost concerns with it as well.
Yep.
Just a quick fact or something. Where does our coal come from that we burn? And that's it.
So we at Cardinal bring coal in, the vast majority of it by barge. Some comes by truck from mines in the area in Ohio. Most of it comes from mines in West Virginia and some in Pennsylvania. It's pretty local, so we don't have far, it doesn't have far to travel. That gives Cardinal an advantage. We think that there's going to be coal generation needed to maintain the reliability of our grid for quite some time. And I think the realists and the government all recognize that as well. Cardinal is positioned within the northern Appalachian coal seams, and so the coal transportation costs to Cardinal are fairly low. It gives us an advantage. And so Cardinal's a pretty efficient power plant with coal that's locally sourced. So we should be okay to continue to operate as long as coal generation is allowed to. It's not far.
Yes, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I understood that for 12 years we have not had a rate hike. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you anticipate a rate hike in the next year of 2023. Could you elaborate a little bit as to why you're anticipating that rate hike?
Well, just inflationary pressure. After 12 years of not increasing the rate revenue. It just gets to the point where in order to maintain some of our ratios with equity, Larry had mentioned we're at a 49% equity level, which is about kind of the sweet spot you want to be for an electric cooperative. As that equity starts to drop, then it becomes an issue where you want to look at, you need to maintain rates. The equity level gives you some flexibility as far as all the significant purchases that we make, the significant capital expenditures that we make. So having that equity level in that range gives us that flexibility, but also minimize our cost of capital. So as you see that equity start to drop, then you have to start looking at a rate increase. So that's part of it. We've got some other financial ratios that we look at as far as ability to pay interest and that. And so as we see those ratios change, but then just the general inflationary increases that we've seen, we have just in the last year about a 30% increase on average in the cost of the equipment that we buy, the transformers, poles, wires. All that's significant. Larry mentioned $70 million in distribution system assets that we have. And just in the last year, on average, about 30% increase in the price of those materials. So you only can absorb that for so long, and that's basically what we're looking at. Well, I think Courtney. Oh. Well, you're welcome. She wanted to thank us for the service that we provide. So.
In the case of brownouts on the East Coast or worse, long-lasting, are they able to tap Cardinal, thereby taking from Cardinal's customers?
I guess the short answer would be yes. So all of the generation assets operate, they're interconnected into a grid. And so while unfortunately we're only as reliable as the weakest link in the grid. And so in Texas, they had issues, right? And there were rolling blackouts and customers that maybe made wise investments were impacted like everybody else. That's why it's important for us to continue to advocate to maintain grid reliability. People recognize or want to make a transition to what they call a clean energy infrastructure, and maybe that's something we can do and should do, but it needs to be done at a reasonable pace when technology allows it to happen, as the technology evolves, because we would be as vulnerable as the PJM grid.
Okay, well, good questions, good discussion, and a very important topic, so I just encourage you to stay informed, and you call us if you have any questions or concerns along these lines. At this point, our attorney, Courtney Burton.
Good morning. I was assigned the job of announcing the results of our election that we just had. So for the 2022 election, we had one proposal on the ballot to amend the Code of Regulations, and that was successful. That passed, so those changes will be made. And second, then we had the election of directors. And this year, the following candidates obtained and completed nominating petitions with 15 valid signatures, and they were submitted for a vote to the membership, and that election was held as of June 1st. So for District 2, for Auglaize County and Shelby County, the people who ran were Steve Bauer and Eugene Rosenbeck. For District 3 in Van Wert County, we had Kathy Brake, who ran unopposed. District 4, Mercer and Dark County, we had Jim Wiekert and Tim Birkenstock. The election committee appointed to inspect ballots and count all valid ballots and certified the results is called Diamond Communication Solutions. All the ballots and election results are on file at the cooperative office for a period of a year. And the certified results show that Kathy Brake, Steve Bauer, and Jim Wiekert were the successful candidates, having received the highest number of votes for their district seats. So these three directors shall serve a term of 3 years commencing immediately upon affirming their pledge of office. So I would like Kathy and Jim and Steve to come up and take their oath of office. Raise your right hands. Will you pledge to provide the members with energy and related services of the highest and most dependable quality at the lowest cost, consistent with sound business principles? If so, please answer, I will.
I will.
Do you pledge to support the policies of the cooperative and dedicate yourself to understand and apply the cooperative principles to the best of your ability? If so, please answer, I will.
I will.
Will you pledge to follow the laws of the state of Ohio and of the United States in carrying out your duties as a director on Midwest Electric's behalf? If so, please answer, I will.
I will.
Lastly, the cooperative has a history of being a good corporate citizen in its community and, to the extent possible, consistent with the cooperative's core mission to seek improvement in the areas of economic, social, educational, environmental, and community development. Will you pledge to give due consideration to these concerns? If so, please answer, I will.
I will.
Congratulations. I did want to ask if Eugene Rosenbeck and Tim Birkenstock are here, and I wanted to thank them for running for office. Are you here? Tim, you want to stand up? Tim, thank you. And thank you as well to Eugene.
Okay, at this point, this brings us to the end of our annual meeting here. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, we got a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All right, been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. This concludes our year's annual meeting, and we'll have our employees be handing out some door prizes, and your board of directors will be leaving here and going to our reorganizational meeting. So again, thank you for coming, and have a safe drive home on that. So, okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for staying. What we'll do first, what we started a few years back, is to give away a $1,000 scholarship at this event. Now, we do have a normal scholarship program that happens every year. You're going to put an application in for that, but to hopefully attract younger members here, we thought, let's put a scholarship on the line, and there's not a whole lot of pre-entry. It could be someone, their sophomore, technical school, anything, someone going back for retraining. So you didn't win this year, put your name in again next year. The winner this year of the $1,000 scholarship is Austin Watercutter. Must be present to win. Is Austin here? It's part of the price, Austin. You have to come down and embarrass yourself. Why don't you grab that? So Austin, who are your parents?
Mark and Kathy Watercutter.
And you're at what school?
St. Henry, Ohio.
St. Henry, and where do you plan to go to college, or are you already going?
Bowling Green State University.
You'll be a freshman, or?
Be a freshman, yep.
Well, congratulations on the scholarship. There's a couple caveats to it, and Keisha there can go over it with you on how to collect that. You have to get your grades first, and then we'll approve that and give you $1,000 on the back end. Give everybody a round of applause for Austin, all the other applicants. And it goes down from there, but our first prize, cash, it's all cash, $500. Julio, you want to draw me one? The 500 prize, if they're here, got to be here, Greg Henksler. There we go. Now we have $100 prizes. The first one is Larry Fote. Larry Fote out of Wapak. Got to be here. Joan Boley. Joan Boley. There we go. Also $100, we have Randy Pressar. Got one. 100 as well to Joseph Owen. This one's 100 as well. Donald Henshin. It's his birthday. He'll take everybody out for cake. $100 to Merle Whetstone. Way on the end here, Corinne. We're down to 50. Tom Heaston. Also 50. Lowell Schloiter. Also 50. Donald Miller. Easy one to get to. 50 as well. Linda Johnson. Hot corner there. 50 as well. David Lehner. Liner out of Rockford. David Liner. No. Lehner. That's not Lehner. Michael Albers, A&M Farms. Mary Kay Rammel. Stuart Bolender. Craig Clooney. Craig Clooney, up in the corner. Daryl Dyer. Violet Dungeon. Steve Butcher. Still at $50. Joseph Yall. Jeff Bakke. From Delphus, Jeff Bakke. Oh. Tom Stammen. In the corner there. Also 50. Norman Mumma. Straight in the center, Taylor. William Nagel, or Nagel. James Cave. Did I see something? James Cave. Oh. Still 50. Roger Dixon. Carol Kill. And just the last one. It's the last one, folks. Oh, we have some giveaways. Don't rush away. We have a wet dry vac donated by Michael Bodine from Annixter and Wesco. And we have these ferns here. Your name gets drawn, you don't want a fern, just decline and the next person can get it. So for the $50, it's Larry Meyer. So the wet dry vac, James Heilers. And we have some ferns, all about the same. John Herman. Herman from Ottoville. Did you want a fern, John? Okay, sure. Also it's fern, John Hassenauer. You want one, John? All right. Also a fern, Beverly Rose of Rose Dairy. Beverly Rose. I'll say a no on that one. Robert Baldoff. Did you want one, Robert? Okay. Jason Kataheinrich. You want one, Jason? Yep. All right. Last one, last fern, Chris Henshin Farm. Want it, Chris? All right. Well, everybody, thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed the event, and have a great day out there.